Evening all. Well, it's late on Sunday evening. Took me a bit of time to decompress after yesterday's results. Probably a bit longer than normal. Not sure my heart rate or my blood pressure has dropped anymore. But hey, look, these are the challenges. These are the joys of coaching. Whether you're at the top level or the grassroots level, like myself, certainly comes back and. Can really get to you, really stick in your head. And yesterday was no exception at all. And I was thinking about this a little bit earlier on. I think some of the frustrations that I have as a coach, and probably not so much as a player, because you get to change things on the field yourself. You get to kind of get the ball or make the hit or do whatever you need to do. But as a coach, I think what really gets to me is smart players doing dumb things. And I wouldn't take it so personally. I wouldn't be so upset if they were just bad rugby players and they just made bad decisions because they weren't very good. And that's different for a coach. That's then working with them individually to try and help them get better and produce more rounded skills. But then on the flip side of that, it's intelligent rugby players that choose to make dumb decisions. There's all the decisions there, but they choose the wrong one. And there is getting it wrong, but there is also choosing to do things incorrectly. And they're not backing that up with the effort to try and put that right. And yesterday, at some points, I was thinking, is Anton Deck going to jump out from behind this bush with a camera and shove it in your face and it's all a big joke or a setup, or it's, Michael McIntyre where that wall falls down and there's a whole studio audience behind, because she's looking around thinking, is someone having me on here? What's going on? And I think sometimes you really do, as a coach, you can feel like you're just banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. And actually, I come back to one of the points I made in my other video. You're not on that field. You can't change it. As much as you make a game plan and put things together and hope that kind of happens, there will only be snippets of it. It will not be a full 80 minutes of sticking to that game plan. And people will go off script every now and again. And you just hope that off script bit doesn't damage too much. And we got away with it yesterday. We got the win in the end, but it was tight. It was close. And I think what was really interesting about yesterday was first time in a long time where we had to play against an opposition that were down to 14 and then 13 men for quite a long time. And actually that brings lots of different expectations. That goes from hope of a competitive game, hope of winning that game, to then expectation of thinking, we now have to win. We have more men on this field. We have more players on this field. And we now need to win. There is an expectation for us to win. And that's a really different dynamic. That's a really difficult dynamic. And speaking to the boys after the game, it makes it more complicated because you think, oh, well, they've got less men. There must be more space. And actually, a lot of people, you forget you've got to earn the right to use that space. You've got to earn the right to go wide. You've got to earn the right to go through a gap. And just flinging a ball to where you think the space is doesn't necessarily always work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you're able to kind of do that. But pushing the envelope all the time, it can be really, really difficult because you put pressure on yourself. You step outside of that idea of, right, here's my structure, this is my job, this is what I'm going to do. And you move into this realm of thinking, right, well, we have to win. I've got to push that pass. I've got to get it wide. That's where the men will be less. That's where we'll have an overlap. And that's not always the case. It might be that those people that were sent off were the ones that were hiding behind the ruck. It might be that those were the people that were stood at guard. It might be that those were the people that didn't like defending anyway, so they weren't even making a difference in the defensive line. So I think from this evening, I think one take-home bit of message is just because you're playing against less people, don't expect to win, because desperation for that team becomes something different. It actually, what you might see, and sometimes this is very prominent in the professional game, going down to less men pulls that team tighter together. They play in a different way. And like I said, those people that got red carded might not have been having an impact on the game at all anyway. So don't put all your eggs in one basket and think that just because you've got more men, you've got a right to win that game. And I think what was really interesting about yesterday, and like I said, I'm incredibly happy that we got the win in the end. It was scrappy, it was close, it almost gave me a heart attack on several occasions, but the joy of yesterday was seeing boys play in their proper positions. Now, in terms of the club that I coach, we are very heavily reliant on students coming back. We don't have a sort of an age group or a cult system or anything like that. We are, an 18 plus adults team. So we don't have those youngsters coming through to sort of bolster the ranks. But the students, when they are back, they make a huge difference. So for the first couple of weeks of the year, we're always struggling because they're not here. And we have guys having to fill in many different positions. We have a lot of Mr. Utilities down at our club, and they will know who they are when I mention that. And we've got a lot of boys that, probably want to be playing second team rugby that are having to step up into the first team because we don't have the variety of people to be able to choose from at the moment. And sometimes that means we have to throw new boys into the first team environment where you'd want to start them in a second team and see how they get on first. So that's some restrictions that we have as a club. You might have the same sort of thing as well, wherever it is that you're watching this or whatever setup and environment that you've got as well. But yesterday was really interesting to see what happens when you play people in the positions that they are used to. The cohesion, the way that they talk, the way that they work together in a set place that they are used to playing, that they've played since they came up through age groups and then into adult teams. And you could just see that difference and that understanding, that rugby knowledge that came with being in that position. And I thought that was great. And I'm really looking forward to the next couple of weeks where we get some more bodies back. We can put those boys in those positions that they actually play rather than having to fill in. And they've all filled in fantastically well and to their best of their ability, but it's not naturally where they want to be. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we can get those boys back into the positions that they play. Because actually, as a coach, seeing guys play positions that they are more suited to and more used to is fantastic. They are much more effective and you feel like a much more cohesive team when you're all together and everybody's all playing in the position that they're used to. So one little tip: try and play the boys in positions that they are used to. Try and play your players in positions that they are used to, because you will really get the best out of them. If they want to try something new, fantastic. But always come back to that starting point of why did they play there in the first place? What attributes do they bring to those positions? And are they comfortable there? Because if they tick all three of those boxes, communication, aggression, movement, and actual understanding of the structure and where they fit in is so much better. And it makes the team so much better and so much more well-rounded.